In a land where roses bloom with secrets and moonlight carries whispers of forgotten love, there lived a young woman whose heart yearned for more than duty and silence. Lady Isabella of Verona, born into riches but bound by tradition, dreamed of a love as wild and boundless as the wind. And one fated day, beneath the crimson petals of her family's garden, she met a strange man with eyes like midnight and words that danced like poetry. What began as a chance meeting soon unfolded into a forbidden romance, a tale of longing and courage, of feuds and forgiveness. This is not just a story of love. It is a story of hearts that dared to bloom in the shadows. This is the Rose of Verona.
In the sun-drenched hills of Verona, there lay a grand estate, known for its exquisite roses. Roses that whispered of old love stories and forgotten dreams. Within this estate lived Lady Isabella Montavere, daughter of Lord Cesario, a merchant of renown and ruthlessness. Isabella was as lovely as spring's first blush, with eyes like the morning dew and a voice that could still the winds. But beauty in her world was a cage, golden but confining. She had everything, save for freedom and love. Her days passed in embroidery, in lessons, in silence. Her heart, though young, ached for something more than polished suitors and scripted compliments. One soft morning, while walking alone in her mother's rose garden, Isabella sang a tune she had written herself, a tune of longing. And as fate would have it, a stranger stood just beyond the hedges, listening. He was dressed plainly, his face shadowed by the brim of his scholar's cap. Lord Ricardo Delamor, a traveler disguised, seeking not trade but escape, from duty, from legacy, from his family's bitter war with the Montaveres. Their eyes met. In that single glance, the air thickened with possibility. "Good sir," she said, startled, "you tread upon private ground." He bowed. "Forgive me, lady. I heard your song and thought the heavens had opened." They spoke but briefly, yet every word felt carved from destiny. When he left, the world seemed less bright, but he returned. Day after day, under the pretense of seeking books from her father's vast library, Ricardo came. And each time, his steps led him back to the garden, to her. As days turned to weeks, love grew in the shadows of the rose bushes. Ricardo and Isabella spoke in riddles and rhyme, laughed under the cover of ivy, and exchanged glances thick with longing. But love in Verona is never simple. Isabella's hand was already promised to Lord Faustus Bellari, a cruel noble with wealth, land, and her father's favor. She had never loved Faustus, but to defy the match meant disgrace. Still, she dared. They met in secret beneath moonlight, exchanging poems and promises. One night, in a stolen embrace, Ricardo revealed the truth. He was no mere scholar, but heir to the Delamor name. Isabella recoiled in shock. Her family and his had warred for generations. Her father had once said, "A Delamor's kiss is a serpent's strike." And yet, she loved him. The next evening, during a feast held in Faustus's honor, Ricardo crashed the gathering in plain sight, pleading his love. The hall fell into chaos. Lord Cesario was outraged. Faustus drew his sword. Guests fled. Isabella was torn between duty and desire, heart and honor. Ricardo was banished, under threat of death should he ever return. Isabella was locked in her chambers, watched night and day. Her letters to Ricardo were intercepted. The garden was closed. Her world, once blooming, had wilted. She wept and wept until her soul grew cold. One night, As the winds howled and rain battered the windows, Isabella stared at her reflection in the mirror, a ghost of the girl who once sang in the garden. "I will not be a prisoner of my blood," she whispered. Donning a servant's cloak, she slipped past the guards, rode through the night, and followed the trail Ricardo once told her of, a small chapel near the river Alva, where the stars were said to kiss the earth. There he was. By a dying fire, Ricardo sat with eyes hollow and heart heavy, not knowing if she lived or if she had forsaken him. She stepped into the light. Neither spoke. They simply ran to each other, embracing with all the passion that silence had suppressed. "I would have waited a lifetime," he murmured. "You waited just long enough," she whispered back. They rode together to a distant convent, where an old friar, who once knew their families, agreed to marry them in secret. Back in Verona, when Lord Cesario discovered his daughter was gone, he prepared for war, but time passed. Weeks turned to months, and when he received a letter from Isabella, written in her careful hand, telling of her marriage, not in defiance, but in devotion, his wrath gave way to reflection. He remembered love, the kind that bends the world, the kind he had once known before power turned his heart cold. With age comes wisdom, and with wisdom, surrender. He gave his blessing, quietly, without fanfare, but it was enough. A year later, the Montavere estate held a new kind of beauty. The garden, once closed, had been reborn. Among the roses now walked Lady Isabella Delamor, hand in hand with Ricardo. Laughter filled the air, the kind that could heal generations of pain. Enemies had become family. And though Verona would never be free of its feuds and fables, one story of two souls who defied name and fate would be passed down whole.